Welcome back to the most irregularly hosted podcast on the internet, Cheese La Vida. If you've been following along at all, you know we're about to do our Season 4 review of South Park. We did the first 3 seasons, did the audio commentary on the movie, and now we're back for Season 4. Personally, my favorite of the seasons that I was watching up until I stopped watching regularly, so I think Matt Stone and Trey Parker have done themselves a great disservice by not counting this one as where shit starts getting good, because this is a transitional season, honestly. Normally, that's like a slightly negative connotation, but the stuff that's in this season is great. It's written well. It's hilarious. Me and my co-host, Nathaniel, the rectal wart of the internet, will be breaking it down for you. We're recording this the same day as our Marvel podcast, so be looking forward to that. Nathaniel, how'd you feel about Season 4?
How didn't I feel about Season 4 is the question you should be asking me. Mixed emotions. I was happy, I was sad, I was disgusted.
Was it the best season we've seen so far?
I would say this is in the middle. So far, yeah. There's a lot better seasons later down the road, but so far this is the best one.
They just retained most of their old elements. There's still that crude humor that you expect from South Park, but they definitely started to get more topical and more character driven. The show was made the week of, which they've been doing since the second season, so if something happens on Sunday, by Tuesday, it could be the third act if they don't have anything written that week. I think they really started to embrace that aspect. They started to embrace the group as a whole more. Things just started to heading more to where they wanted to go. They weren't going to stagnate as the foul-mouthed animated show. Kudos to that. I really like this season a lot, like I said already. But I'm not going to lie, there isn't some downsides. Not all the episodes are the best, and, I had a theory that Nathaniel has been forced to agree with, that they've been trying to phase Kenny out the entire season.
Oh, I didn't want to believe it, but god damn it, Mike was right. They want to phase out Kenny, and they attempted to phase out Kenny, but they couldn't do it, could they? Kenny's too much of an icon at this point.
Well, they said he was a prop.
Oh, they're fucking crazy.
That's what I'm saying. You gave up on a character just 4 seasons into the show, and he was a big part of the movie.
I think he saved the world, bro. He did. He saved the world from selfless act. 3,000 years of darkness.
Isn't that frustrating, then, that they want to give up on a character already? Especially someone who's from the main cast. I mean, I understand you got other characters you're trying to bring out of the background, but at the cost of sacrificing one of the main characters? Why?
For real. You're right. They were still trying to find themselves, I think.
They didn't even give him anything to do, really. They only gave him, the spotlight twice.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. It's hard to believe it, and I really don't want to believe it. I mean, they were trying to give some characters spotlight, but they're still young. It's Season 4. The show hasn't been on that long. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, it's only 2000.
Yeah, so the show hasn't been on for that long. They're still trying to find themselves.
I mean, they were still fighting to not have the season extend past 14 episodes so that they wouldn't have to make episodes at the beginning of the next year. They could come in at the beginning of whatever season they had to start, so April so far.
Mm-hmm.
They'd come in April, be done by December. They'd have 2 breaks. That's what they wanted, but if you've been following along, you know that that's not always the case.
Right.
They got fucked up programming blocks back then when Nielsen ran the world. So they finally got to do that. So this is the first season where everything's in 1 year, in 1 calendar year, just 2000. They didn't have to go into 2001. And I mean, that doesn't even seem like a big deal, but that's essentially their life. They're always animating.
100%.
You think about it like, well, they're making South Park, but they want to take a break on July 4th, but the show needs something to air at that time. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So they got to fight for that at that point still. I guess it kind of showed them that they could still lend support to Eric Stowe, because he does some directing in this season, and I think that was good for the show. But it didn't always result in great episodes, which is why this season, you said it's mediocre for you overall?
It's 50-50. I don't want to say it's mediocre, but I also do not want to say it's not good.
Well then, say some more, Nathaniel, Mr.
Well,
Silent.
It's not that I'm silent. It's just it's a touchy subject, because as of right now, this is definitely the best season. But if we go into the season more in depth and talk about the episodes, there's a lot of good things about the season and a lot of bad things. And I personally believe it's all on Matt Stone and Trey Parker's head. That's why it lies 50-50 with me. So, I mean, we get into some more episodes, I'll get a little bit more in depth.
Okay, well, how about before I say that, I tell you about the last episode, at least for a while, maybe ever, to feature an outside co-writer. Nancy Pimentel, the lady who I was talking shit about in season 2, saying I wouldn't pronounce her name because she's not on the writing staff beyond this.
We definitely talked a lot of shit.
Yeah, she turned back up for the first episode. She helped write it, and it's a pretty fucking good episode. However, unlike the last time Nancy Pimentel helped out on South Park, Mary Kay Bergman did not contribute to any female voices, so they did all the voices on their own. And starting with the second episode, they did all the writing on their own. And that would be like that for pretty much still ongoing. I don't remember the last time South Park really had an outside writer. If we ever get to an episode where they do, of course we'll talk about it, but I can't think of one. You know, it's not going to happen for a while.
Like a good while.
We might get some directing help. Like I said, Eric Stowe did some episodes. Adrian Beard did the last episode. He did A Very Crappy Christmas. He directed that one. He was also introduced as the voice of Token.
Yeah, he was.
We got some good stuff going on in here. We got some interesting behind-the-scenes stuff going on. But, you know, I guess it doesn't really matter unless the episodes are great. So, let's get into this. Tooth Fairy Tats 2000, April 5th, 2000. First episode of the season. The outside co-writer. And once you know that fact, you can kind of tell. It definitely is the most that has like that early South Park feel to it, I guess you could say. That early format. But they're trying new things in that one.
Most definitely.
I mean, they're still making fun of other outside stuff like they would do in the other episodes, but now it's a little more character driven. The boys are the ones selling the teeth on the black market so that they can get money to get a Sega Dreamcast.
Cartman definitely got that Scarface, that Tony Montana vibe going, and Loogie has got that Marlon Brando type shit. And it was interesting. There was a lot of funny things in this episode. This was the start of Cartman's $10 million ventures. You know, he wanted...
Yeah, that's one of the themes.
He wanted fucking $10 million. Cartman's a racist piece of shit. You call him every name in the book, but the one thing you can't call him is not determined. That man wants $10 million. He's gonna try and fucking get $10 million.
Even God be damned.
For real. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Was this the best way to open a season?
Yeah, most definitely. I think so.
Weren't you thrown off by the ending, you said?
A little bit.
The questioning of the logic and whatnot?
Kyle.
The reality bending?
Kyle was like, I'm here. I'm nowhere. It's happening! And then fucking disappears. And then Stan's like, Kyle? And I was like, well, that's like third wall. Hey, you know what?
It's like fifth wall breaking.
There was fourth and fifth wall breaking in this whole entire episode. Cartman was getting wheeled up to the window, or raised up to the window, and he's like, left. And they pushed him left, and he's like, no, camera left. And I was like...
That was pretty fucking clever. I never even noticed that one before.
That shit, hilarious.
they don't really do fourth wall jokes too. They never really abuse fourth wall jokes.
No, because it'd be too easy.
Yeah, they prefer writing nuanced stuff. They don't do those jokes often. So when they sneak them in, I think they're just fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
I don't know why. It's just, you just don't expect it, I guess. And then when you get it, you're like, oh, that was pretty fucking clever still.
Yeah, and it's good writing. That's what that is. I bet that took them 10 hours to come up with.
You think so?
I'm not even joking with you. These episodes aren't made in a day. They're literally in that discussion room, sitting in a room with 20 people on a
Well, I know
whiteboard.
they go on a writer's retreat, they say, before every season, and they come up with a bunch of ideas. And then, for whatever reason, and I want to ask you this before we even go any farther. Why is everything always just credited to Trey Parker? Why does Matt Stone never take any credit? Is he even doing anything? He has to be.
It's probably kind of like... Probably one comes up with a lot of the actual story, and the other one comes up with all the ideas and all the characteristics of that story. You know what I mean? So one person probably actually sits down and we're like, okay, Cartman and Kenny are going to have a conversation here. Kyle and Butters end up talking here. The parents talk here. That's probably what he's doing. And then the other guy's just like, when he's doing this, he's like doing something fucking stupid.
Are you saying that Trey Parker does more work than Matt Stone, and that's why Trey Parker gets the credit?
I don't want to say that. I think Trey Parker is doing more writing and Matt Stone is doing more characteristic development.
That makes sense. I've had that theory too. It's just so weird that I've always seen them as doing equal work. So to see it always say directed by Trey Parker, written by Trey Parker, I'm like, well, you know, if Matt Stone doesn't want credit, then what's he doing?
Right.
So it's just weird like that, I guess. And maybe they purposely like doing that too. You know these fucking guys.
Yeah, most definitely.
So we have Cartman's Silly Hate Crime 2000. That's the second episode. And like I said, this is the beginning of just written by Trey Parker, so they don't have any outside writers from here on out, at least for several years. However, this one was co-directed with Trey Parker and Eric Stowe. How did you feel about Cartman's Silly Hate Crime 2000? And yes, 2000 is in the title of the first 4 episodes.
Yeah, I don't know why they did that. That was kind of dumb, but...
They said they did it because everyone was doing it. And yes, if there's
Really?
people who weren't alive in 2000 or just weren't paying attention in 2000, in the year 2000, for whatever reason, for several months, and in the months leading up to 2000 as well, everything was fucking branded with 2000 after it. I remember Pokemon the movie, 2000.
Oh, shit.
Like, that's just an offhand example.
I remember it.
Off the top of my head, like, everything was named 2000. I had a fucking shirt with the year, nothing but the year 2000 on it. I don't know why. It's just what people did. It was.
When was Y2K?
It was an untalked about fad that everyone just did.
When was Y2K?
January 1st, 2000.
So maybe that was why.
Well, yeah, everyone was terrified of that, but once that was over, you'd think the fad stopped. I mean, these episodes came out in April. This episode aired April 12th. And then Timmy 2000, even though this was technically the 4th produced episode,
Yeah.
they had a fucked up production code. Like I said, the writer's retreat, they come up with these ideas. One gets made before the other, but doesn't get aired first. Whatever. This one was aired April 19th, 2000. April 26th, 2000 was Quintuplets 2000, which was also the last episode with 2000 in the title because they said they got bored of the joke. And then they went on break until June 21st. Eric Stowe directed Cartman Joins Nambla. Oh, Nathaniel's going to go off. I'm just going to hold off on that one. Cherokee Hair Tampons, June 28th.
Great episode.
Chef Goes Nanners was co-directed with Eric Stowe, July 5th. That's what I'm talking about when they said they wanted to go home. They said this one was a half-baked episode. We'll get to it, though. Something You Can Do With Your Finger, July 12th. Do the Handicap Go to Hell, July 19th. Probably July 26th. Then they went on a break. Came back November 8th for 4th grade. November 15th was Trapper Keeper, Helen Keller the Musical. November 22nd, Eric Stowe directed Pip, and that's what I mean by didn't always lead to great results.
Right.
November 29th, Fat Camp, December 6th, The Wacky Molestation Adventure, December 13th, December 20th, A Very Crappy Christmas, and I think I mentioned Adrian Beard directed that. Air dates, now that that's out the way, Cartman's Silly Hate Crime 2000, how do you feel?
This really touched on a lot of shit that was going on in the early 2000s, right before 9/11. There was a lot of shit talking going on in this episode, so Cartman picked up a rock and threw it at Token. He ended up going to the principal's office.
Boys will be boys.
Right, you know what I mean? There was no names being called. There was shit talking, and Cartman threw a rock. Probably not the best choice.
What do you mean by no names being called but shit talking?
They were shit talking with each other, and they were getting each other pissed. Cartman wasn't, saying anything racist. Cartman just...
That's what you mean by name calling.
Yeah, Cartman just threw a rock, just so happened to be Cartman was white and Token was black. So he got to the office, fast forward a little bit, shit got investigated by the FBI, ended up going to court, and this is where it kind of...
They really love shitting on the FBI.
They really do. The real thing, what got me in this episode was Cartman. When he got up there, the lawyer was questioning him, like, question after question. He's an 8-year-old boy. Did you throw, something like this, did you throw a rock at an African-American boy? Token? He's not African-American, he's black. And he's like, he said black! He said black! And listen, so if you have never lived in the hood, right, you're going to hear someone say black. And when you get up into an uppity white neighborhood, they're like African-American. They're politically correct about it. See, I think it's very uncorrect to say African-American. They could be Haitian, they could be Dominican, they could be anything. Just like a white person could be Irish, Polish, German, just like there's, so
You know what they could be? A person.
That's a fact, too. I think people in the early 2000s really were just looking for any excuse to just throw race into shit. And they're within good reason, of course, but this episode really touched on political correctness really early on, and I think it was ridiculous.
You think Cartman's sentencing was completely ludicrous?
Well, the first sentencing, the judge said...
2,000 years
It was
or
like,
whatever?
it was something like 2,000 years, and then the guy came up, he's like, sir, you can't do that. And he's like, oh, I'm sending you to maximum juvenile hall until your 21st birthday, which was technically super illegal. This kid was 8 years old. Hate crime or not, 8 years old, this is like you could sue and get a lot of money type shit. This wasn't, I'm sending you until you're 21.
Yeah, but if not for that, we wouldn't have met Romper Stomper.
Yeah, of course, Romper Stomper was the shit, bro. And you know what? Moving on a little bit forward, after he met Romper Stomper was going to get him out of prison, or out of juvenile hall. He had to sneak some cigarettes in through his butthole. He had to keister it, you know what I mean? So, if we're going to be in all fairness, Cartman paid his debt by shoving shit up his ass and having to poop it out for a crazy prisoner. I think that's fair.
And here's Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah, so he got some cigarettes and he dropped them in the toilet and he flushed it after he pooped them out. And then Romper Stomper wanted something else. It was a tic-tac-throw game. Cartman shoved the whole fucking box up his butthole and pooped it out. Hey, as men, I think we could all agree, if you have to get something shoved up your asshole, I think you paid your debt to society. As men, let's come to an agreement on that. And then you know what? At the end of the episode, he willingly shoved shit up his ass for his friend.
He learned something today. Oh, also in this episode, that Parka chick died.
Oh, yeah,
And then she came back.
Yeah, we totally skipped on a bunch of shit. She ended up getting fucked up, dude. Went down that hill, was just like, whew.
Phil Collins Hill.
Yeah, they fucking hated Phil Collins.
He's a theme in this one as well as Cartman's $10 million and Cartman trying to be a celebrity of some sort. We have Phil Collins going on because what did you say he did? He beat them in a Grammy?
Yeah, so Phil Collins, if I remember correctly, beat Matt Stone and Trey Parker in a Grammy, and they were pretty pissed off about it because, I mean, Phil Collins had some hits, but let's be honest, Phil Collins is a piece of shit.
Well, they kind of made fun of him for being super liberal.
Yeah.
And you know what? I kind of admire that about them because they started off making fun of what they knew in season 1, which was redneck mountain town stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Just dumb scenarios, probably from being bored from living in a redneck mountain town.
Yeah.
And then here they are now, making fun of Phil Collins for beating them in a Grammy. And they're making fun of super liberalism.
Yeah. That's a fact.
Like, I admire that. But he comes back in the next episode, Timmy 2000.
Timmy 2000.
In the flesh this time.
Yeah. So here's the thing about that. So are we going to go on to Timmy 2000?
I think we covered everything about Cartman's Silly Hate Crime. It's a pretty great episode. Romper Stomper's hilarious.
Cartman paid his debt, and we learned a little bit about Token's family.
Yeah, we got some character development.
Yeah.
Great episode. Pretty funny. Pretty good episode.
Most definitely. Moving forward from that, Timmy 2000 touched on a lot of subjects too. Phil Collins, being the whore that he is, was...
Genesis was holding me back.
Yeah, well, I mean, they kind of were, because when he left, he made some fucking pretty dope hits.
I can feel it coming in the air tonight.
Let's be honest, we could all sit down and smoke a doobie and listen to that for hours. I'd listen to that any day of the week. Doesn't mean he's not a whore, though. I like how, through the whole episode with him, they had Phil Collins holding his Grammy. The whole episode. It doesn't matter what scene he was in, he had the Emmy. The whole episode in his hand. Funniest shit I've ever seen. That was clever, because it was kind of like a nod. Unless you actually looked it up and knew, you would have never known why he had that fucking Grammy in his hand.
Is it a Grammy or an Emmy, Nathaniel? Make up your mind.
Emmy, Grammy, it's all the same shit. It's
They
just
want an award.
Yeah, it's just a fucking award.
It's just idolatry.
For real. It's, if you know you have good shit and people love it, why do you need an award? Now, from there, Timmy, we get to see...
They act like this is his debut, and that's why I think the production codes is fucking fascinating, because they aired this third, but it's the fourth episode they technically made, and yet he's in he's in the first episode, Tooth Fairy Tats, which is the second episode they made. What the fuck are they doing?
I think it shows his character development, because so Timmy's special. He's handicapped.
Why didn't they just start the season off with Timmy 2000?
I don't know. I don't think it would have been right, because they did Silly Hate Crime, then they did Timmy, which still had a lot of political correctness in it. So that's where I think that got that. Now, Timmy, though, as he's getting into the show, he is special, like I was saying. But Timmy knows he's special. You could see it in his development. And he finds something that he likes doing. Which brings me to the favorite part of this episode. The almighty return of Skylar and his fucking band. So, you had
Lords of the Underworld.
Lords of the Underworld, right? And in this episode, they were actually a lot better. They could play.
Didn't have a vocalist.
Absolutely not. And for some reason, Timmy was just outside of the garage. Every time they did their last part, he was like, Timmy! And they did it, Turner, Timmy! And they're like, and they open the garage and there's Timmy. So they got in there.
Are you supposed to be laughing at this? I know that's the point, but should we be laughing at this?
See, that's the thing. That's where the political correctness comes in. And Phil Collins, being the fucking whore he is, was like, people shouldn't be laughing at this. This isn't funny. No, it's not funny. It's amazing because they made a character who knew he was special and found something he loved doing. Just because he's special doesn't mean he can't comprehend rational thought.
Great episode.
Great episode.
And you know what?
We got Timmy and the Lords of the fucking Underworld.
You can shove that Grammy up your ass.
For real.
And they literally did that.
Yeah.
So Quintuplets 2000 then is a big step down for you from Timmy 2000?
Yeah, because that really touched on a real world issue.
Do you hate this episode because of the episode or because of the
true
scenario behind it?
The true scenario and outcome. Bill Clinton was a piece of shit.
You go ahead. Listen, and you make this quick.
Listen, all right. I'm going to make this super quick because I
know how you
this
get.
Episode. Quintuplets, they're here in the United States illegally, unfortunately. They're government.
No. The real story is just one kid who came here illegally.
Right, I'm sorry.
Or something like that.
The government wanted him back, the family, or the father wanted him back, and there was no proof that was actually his father. The government was just like, we want the kid back. So Bill Clinton, for some fucking reason, sent SWAT. Look up this picture. I want you to type in Bill Clinton swats a kid. Dead ass on Google Images. The first images you're going to see is a full tacked out, white mustached fucking 2000s guy with an MP5 shoved in a guy's face. I'm done with this. Go to the next episode.
Well, that's kind of what the whole point of the episode kind of was, honestly, because the girls called out the boys for that. So, yeah, let's go to the next episode. Cartman joins Nambla. Go ahead, Nathaniel. Just go ahead.
I've watched this episode hundreds of times prior to us even thinking about doing podcast. I thought it was the funniest fucking shit in the world until Mike here told me Nambla was a real fucking organization. Didn't believe him. I was like, you're fucking lying, dude. There's no way that... Listen, we live in a shitty place, right? We got hate groups. I never thought we would have a fucking child lover group ever. I looked up on Google, bro. 500 searches in the first 10 minutes. Fucking Nambla was a real organization that advocated for pedophiles to love young boys. Not young boys as in like an 18-year-old kid. No, we're talking about prepubescent boys. Anyone under the age of 18. It's disgusting. Those men, the government, they shouldn't have even allowed this. They said they were protecting the rights of gay individuals and pedophiles. No, bro. No, listen, gay rights, you do whatever you want. You're an adult, you're behind closed doors. Pedophiles, dead ass, bro. If I was the president, I would have literally sent in U.S. Marshals and given them the green light to fucking execute you in the street. Dude, I would have drawn the line. And anybody that argues with me on that, you're clearly, you advocate for pedophilia.
That's basically where they were going with the episode.
Yeah, bro. No.
How about the North American Marlon Brando Lookalike Association?
I thought that was funny because they've been fighting with them for years for the domain name. And they were like, no, bro, this is fucked up. That's the kind of shit. That's mob mentality. This is the only time we should have mob mentality. The fact that they let these motherfuckers parade in the street for pedophilia, shame on everybody, bro. Shame on all of you that watched it. Shame on all of you that let these motherfuckers put newsletters out. Shame. I would have fucking... if I couldn't execute those motherfuckers in the street, I would have chemically castrated every single one of them.
How do you feel about the Cherokee hair tampons episode?
That episode was fucking hilarious. Shout out to Cheech and Chong.
You think they're coming up with some fire every episode here?
Yeah. Well, after that one, Cheech and Chong...
They're hitting you pretty touchy here, and now they got you laughing again.
Yeah. See, that's the thing about this season. That's why I like it and I dislike it. Because it throws a lot of shitty real-world things in there, and then they come back and hit you with, like, some funny shit. So in the...
Do you think they didn't balance it yet properly, then?
No.
And that's why maybe they don't want to credit it that much as they would the next season or something?
They didn't hone their craft.
See, I like that, though. I like that it was a little more raw. I like that a few days before the Quintuplets episode aired, the fucking actual raid happened, and they took that image and used it in the fucking episode.
Hands! Let me see those hands!
I like that. It makes a lot of people upset, or it's not cool to some people. I like that, though.
So fast forward back to Cherokee hair tampons. Misinformation. Clearly, Kyle had kidney failure. That was pretty evident when they walked in the room, and Stan was like, hey, how you doing here?
I think that's them taking on liberals again.
Yeah.
You don't need a doctor.
That's stupid. It's Okay, vaccinate your kids, take them to checkups, bro. Straight up. That's all I'm saying. Cherokee hair tampons, misinformation. So, Kyle's mom, pretty liberal, was like, oh, she's a natural healer. Oh, she'll take care of us. Oh, blah, blah, blah. And then when they got in there, they were talking. Stan saw through the bullshit off rip. Misinformation was like, all Western medicine is, all they want is your money. That'll be $250. And she's pulling out money for some all-natural, free-range.
It's worthless, because they're laughing the Native Americans, it's Cheech and Chong.
Yeah.
We're Mexican.
Yeah.
How did you feel about the live-action commercial in the middle of the fucking episode?
It was cool. It was a good.
They do that quite a bit.
They used to do that a lot. They don't. I wish they would kind of bring it back though. Yeah. It was funny.
Is it the best one yet?
Yeah, so far. After you're done using it, it makes a great toy for Jesse. You're just gonna give your dog a fucking unrolled up hair full of blood from your period? Come on, bro. Dogs don't really give a shit what they put in their mouth, but
that's disgusting.
If they knew what fucking was on that fucking Cherokee tampon, there would be a big issue in that dog's mind.
Did you like Chef Goes Nanners?
Chef Goes Nanners, yes.
How come you think they said it was half-baked? They said they didn't really put too much effort into it because they wanted to go home for 4th of July. But it kind of touches on some real stuff.
They did. I don't know if it really did much for me.
What do you mean?
I don't know. I don't believe it was half-baked because they're artists. They're going to put everything they got into it, whether they want to or not. So saying it's half-baked is just an insult to themselves and their show.
It's like, it's that flag controversy. We're still doing that.
Yeah. Well, the episode touched on an important subject. I know they were trying to take a shot at the American flag, but the American flag doesn't have white people hanging a black person. You know what I mean?
They're just talking about racist history, though.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. I mean, there's the people that are like, anytime you have...
Not necessarily the American flag, maybe more so the Confederate flag.
Yeah.
Without talking about the Confederate flag.
Right. Anytime... this is just how it is, right? Nowadays, conservatives always have the hate groups on their side. That's just how it is. It's fucked up, and I don't like it, but... It's how it is. Those hate groups are going to go to the white person. And they're not going to go to a Democrat that's white because they advocate for certain things. That's just how it is. That's reality. Let's grow up. Let's see it. Stop hiding from it. What I really liked in that episode is when the kids, Stan and Kyle, they were on that side and they said they were advocating for the flag not to be changed. And Chef was like, why? He was all pissed off and didn't understand. And then Chef stopped. And he was like, wait a minute. They didn't even make the separation from black and white. All they saw was a person being hung. And Chef was like, damn. That just fucking hit me.
You see what I'm saying? This is a great season.
Yeah, most definitely.
I don't know what they're saying when they don't credit this as where shit got really good.
He's
I'm gonna finger bang you every night.
On a real note, though, Cartman was the king of this show, this episode. He came in, $10 million idea. Boy band? Boy band? Boy band. You know what I mean? He had a dream that he was on stage. And girl,
Do you think this will be lost on people today? Or kids today? I mean...
Boy bands were hot back in 2000, bro.
Yeah, exactly. It's not 2000
You had
anymore.
fucking NSYNC.
And Backstreet.
Let's go, dude. Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
Backstreet Boys was 10 times better than NSYNC, by
I
the
didn't
way.
like that stuff.
I fucked with Backstreet Boys heavy.
I'm gonna leave it on that. But it's one of my favorite episodes. It's funny as fuck, especially Randy was in the Ghetto Avenue Boys.
Yeah. He left everything. He's like, I gotta think about it. I'll take that as a yes. Call me tomorrow. He's like, so I just packed up everything. I left school. See ya. I left my home. See ya.
Do the handicapped go to hell? That's the last summer episode. It was a two-parter with probably, because, hey, Timmy can't confess, so is he gonna go to hell?
Hilarious.
And then that exposes the Catholic Church, as we were kind of talking about earlier, how this season tackles religion and celebrity well, and Cartman's schemes to get rich. He uses, once again, that $10 million scheme and tries to open up his own church in a time of weakness for the Church of South Park.
Great episode.
Oh yeah, this two-parter is great, and it quite frankly needed to be a two-parter because they even incorporated elements from the movie, completely making it canon.
Yeah.
I love that they do that. They just keep expanding this universe.
Yeah, my favorite part, they end up going to church, it's locked. So what do? They break in. Fucking ridiculous. They break in, next thing you know, the confession booth is shaking. Fucking there's Father Maxie. Or they open the first one, and there's a girl getting just fucking reamed. They slam the door shut, they open the next one. Here's Father Max. He's fucking a bitch in church in the confession booth. He gets caught. He's like, Jesus, children! He comes out, and she runs out. He drops to his knees praying to God. Father Maxie was always on the fence about his religion.
He's a terrible man. And then you've got Satan and Saddam.
Satan had a new boyfriend.
Chris. They kept fighting and killing each other, and Satan couldn't decide, so he turned to God for advice and decided that he had to stop being a pussy and be on his own for a while.
For real.
And
He's
Saddam
like,
had to get banished to heaven.
This guy was like, Jesus Christ, what happened to you? You got kicked out of heaven for being a headstrong rebel.
We get to 4th grade. New opening. This elaborate Hollywood type of opening. Explosions. It ends with someone jumping over a fucking police car. It's a live action scene. Explosions going on. Like some shit's gonna go down. They go to 4th grade. They hate it. They want to go back to 3rd grade, where everything was great, even though it sucked because Mr. Garrison was a terrible teacher.
He was horrible. He doesn't even teach him anything.
This episode, however, does give closure to Mr. Garrison's character. Mm-hmm. And I think that's great that they decided to start the block by allowing Mr. Garrison to finally admit that he's gay.
Yeah, he's a fruit.
Because we haven't seen him since Cherokee Hair Tampons. They hinted the whole season. He was in bits of all the episodes leading up, suggesting that he was gay. I mean, he was in NAMBLA. I didn't even talk about it because of the NAMBLA rant. But yeah, that's why he got fired, because he was soliciting sex from a minor. He tried to turn in his gun. They told him that teachers don't normally carry guns.
He's like, well, I guess I'll just turn
Mr. Garrison's terrible. He's gone through this horrible arc, and then finally in Cherokee Hair Tampons, he wrote the greatest American gay erotica novel of all time. And it horrified him. They did some Empire Strikes Back shit where you have to face your greatest fear in the cave. His greatest fear was his gay self. So he finally came out, we got closure to that character.
His character development is fucking ridiculous, bro. Mr. Garrison is literally probably the most character-developed person out of the entire South Park. He's crazy as fuck. He's gay, he's not gay. He's all over the spectrum. It's just funny to me. And I really love that they finally made him come out as gay.
Did he do a good job teaching kindergarten and Trapper Keeper, though?
Absolutely not. What are you talking about? This man was fucking horrible.
Oh, wait. Before we go on, Miss Chokes on Dick. How'd you feel about her?
I love her debut.
And how do you feel about everyone calling her not Miss Chokes on Dick? The joke goes right over their head.
Right. Every time they
Miss Chokes on Rocks? Miss Chokes on Dick.
Yeah. It's funny. You know what I mean?
Them having Timmy travel through time was to get away from her. I would have joined. I don't really like her character. And you're saying she was great.
She's hilarious.
I mean, she's funny for this episode, but only to allow Mr. Garrison to get back into the spotlight, honestly.
Right.
I don't want to see much of her going forward. I never wanted to see much of her going forward. We got her for a little bit, though. That's why they showed Mr. Garrison as the fucking lead, kinda, in Trapper Keeper.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
That's what I'm saying. That's why he's back in Trapper Keeper as the kindergarten teacher. That's
Yeah,
why he's got as
let him
much
come
screen
back.
time. That's why they're not in class really that much. And the fact that they are in class is because the Trapper Keeper is the object of interest. They're still trying to get Mr. Garrison in there without having to show much of Miss Chokes on Dick.
Yeah, you're right. They introduced her and already tried to phase her.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Like,
Oh, this was a bad call. Fuck. Well, we're already deep into it. Let's just fuck her character up.
that's why season 4 maybe isn't always great.
Yeah,
But
I guess you're right.
it's funny. But sometimes they just put themselves in situations to dig themselves out, and I don't understand why. Because think about where they're at now, but think about what they had to get themselves out of to get to where they're at now.
Great.
The episode's funny though, and plus it made fun of the 2000 election, which was the first of now 2 times in my life where I've seen the presidential candidate win a popular vote and still lose the presidential election.
Wow, that's history in the making right there.
In any case,
5 people.
Helen Keller the Musical was the 13th episode, and I don't really give a shit about it.
Yeah, it's...
Pretty boring.
Go watch it.
It's the Timmy
lame.
Turkey episode.
Yeah. Gobbles. That's probably the highlight.
Yeah. And then that brings us to Pip,
Okay.
which is just a joke on the Charles Dickens tale featuring live action scenes of Malcolm McDowell.
It is a clusterfuck of an episode. Other than that, you know,
They said that one was a big mistake.
yeah. Watch the episode, guys. If we sat here and explained it, we'd literally add another hour to this podcast if we sat here and explained the Pip episode. Let's just leave it at this. There's a guy named Mr. Pocket. Made the entire episode. Go look him up.
Oh no, not at all, I'm sure.
Right. I want to stop the conversation. Excuse myself. It is not polite to pull out your penis and look for scabs. Oh, I'm
Wee-wee.
sorry. Yeah, your wee-wee and look at scabs.
So,
I'm sorry.
Fat Camp, 15th episode. Mm-hmm. How'd you feel about it? Cartman hustling the system, selling snacks to the fat kids to cheat them.
Great
Sends an
episode.
imposter in who behaves nicely like it changed his life.
Yeah, that was
Pretty funny episode.
Kenny's.
Oh yeah, that was the Crazy Kenny episode.
Good episode. It was a little drawn out. Could have went a little bit faster, in my opinion.
That's what I'm saying. Now they only do 10 episode seasons.
Yeah.
They did 14 for a while, starting next season. Because this one had 17 still. It feels long. I mean, they bullshitted 2 episodes prior to this. Pip and Helen Keller the Musical.
Yeah. Fillers.
They said their best joke in Helen Keller the Musical was the beard joke because of some movie they tried to make in college where they used fake beards and it was uncomfortable. They think that's the best joke. I think the best joke is Butters hyping up the kindergartners play.
Right, and they get in there and it was...
And the whole thing's about some turkey. Like, that's not a great episode.
And it was literally the theme of, like, Happy Birthday.
It's still a transitional season, and that's why I get why some people maybe wouldn't like season 4, but despite its bloat, I still have a very fond loving for this season.
Yeah.
Fat Camp's still funny, even if it's really just an excuse to show how shitty Cartman can be. And that really just goes forward in the Wacky Molestation Adventure,
Yep.
which was voted as the best episode of this season. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, most definitely. 10 out of 10.
I'm kind of partial to Finger Bang, but I'd probably have to agree because the writing in this one was tight. It's a nice parody of Children of the Corn. Cartman suggests that if we don't like what our parents have to say, we just call the cops and pretend that they molested us. That's fucking awful. And they soon realize that that's a bad idea.
That was a horrible fucking idea.
Of course, the system brainwashes the parents into believing that they did it and they're responsible for everything wrong in their life. Which, you know, you do have to take responsibility for your actions, but if you didn't fucking do anything wrong, it's a nice poke at the system.
Most definitely.
It's a good episode. I suggest you just watch it, because mostly this episode's running on a little long.
Yeah.
And in any case, we end with a very crappy Christmas, and to the delight of Nathaniel, Mr. Hankey's family debuts. You were excited. You were trying to call it in season 2.
Listen, I was every episode we did or every season.
That was
I'm like,
Christmas themed.
I'm like, yeah, this is the debut, and I'm like, fuck, no, it's not. Mike was like, it's season 5. I'm like, no,
Season 6.
Season 6. I'm like, no, they come sooner. Every episode, bro. Every Christmas episode. This is the debut. This is the debut. I just didn't, but I called it this time. I'm like, this is the fucking debut. And Mike's like, you sure? I'm like, I'm positive. And look at that. Fucking peanut in the brain.
This episode, they said, was an excuse to display how hard it was to make the original shorts for South Park.
That's fair. Because it was stop animation.
How do you feel about it now?
Probably super difficult, and I probably would have shot myself.
Do you respect this episode more? Do you think it's funnier?
I respect South Park as a
Because
whole.
you fell asleep, but that might have just been because of the binge.
Yeah, it was a binge. I work nights, sorry. But, yeah, no, I respect it all in all. Just because it's super hard to make those
Episode's
shows.
funny. We've been doing this for 3 hours, and we've only got 20 seconds of animation, and then they finish it anyway.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on the season?
No,
I mean,
it was good.
we
I'd give it
went
like an 8
thoroughly in depth.
Yeah, I'd give it like an 8 out of 10.
An 8 out of 10. Didn't you give the first season a 9?
Yes.
And you think the first season's better than the fourth?
In personal opinion, yes.
I think you're crazy. We might have to start going into personal lists pretty soon here about this, because I think this is the best one yet. Which, didn't you start off saying it was?
My opinions change very rapidly, you know.
Very rapidly.
I know my personality could be a little bit erratic. But, all in all, great season.
So, with that,
See ya!